Hello, dear friends. I have been asked to talk about the change, and this is what I have heard. I do not presume to know anything, but humbly report what I have heard, without being able to guarantee absolute truth. Opinion piece. This is all about to happen. Military maneuvers in many countries. General Flynn talks about 2 to 3 weeks. Inflation is starting to go crazy. The world economy is running out of everything. Systemic collapse looming according to economists. The world will be unrecognizable in the coming months. Things will be discovered that will astound the awakened. Central banks plan to launch digital currencies. They are trying to maintain an economic system that doesn't work. There is only one chance to get it right, and it has to be done right. Cyber attacks reveal the vulnerability of public services. Disease, pollution and war will be things of the past. No need to panic about switching to a new system. Let's start. This is coming down because the fruit is ripe according to information sources, as military maneuvers are seen in many countries, especially helicopters, black vans and ambulances. The Maricopa recount will be over in a week, and after Arizona, other audits in other states will follow. 13 states are conducting inspections, and the list continues to grow. Washington, Georgia, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Michigan, South Carolina, and Missouri. That's why General Flynn said that we could see changes in 2 or 3 weeks, and that the world would be unrecognizable in the next few months. However, this rumor was contradicted last night by my colleague Frank de Gea, who said that the dragon has decided to delay events because of mankind's lack of maturity. Flag Day. Monday, June 14, has been Flag Day and Trump's birthday, although the coalition has said in quotes that we will not telegraph our movements to the enemy. We will, however, light a fire to eliminate them. Close quotes. As it is always the case, it is an exercise in ingenuity to try to guess what they meant. Congress to investigate actions of Trump's Justice Department. The top 2 Democrats in Congress voted Sunday to investigate the Justice Department's allegedly dishonest actions during the former president's tenure, including its decision to cite Democratic lawmakers' communications records. Melania Trump has revealed that my husband has been working very hard over the last few months to find a solution. Have you ever noticed that Trump and his family always face litigation but are never guilty, while Biden and his family are always guilty but never indicted? Apparently, Senator Grassley, as president of the Senate, could be the temporary transition president when the audit comes out, and until the rest is resolved. Article 2 of the Constitution provides for such a case according to Rafapal. Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution literally reads: the President, Vice President, and all civil officers would be removed from office upon indictment and conviction for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Storm. The storm is upon us, and no one can stop what is coming, because the Starlink satellites are already connected, according to the round letter. During the currency reset, the activation of the new satellite internet system and the switch to Tesla free energy, a blackout with loss of telephone communication and internet network access could occur. That is why it is recommended to be prepared to lose electricity for 24 to 48 hours and to have non-perishable food in case of interference in supply chains and grocery store closures. But there is no need to hoard food as long as we do not see a failure in supply lines. The currency reset would be preceded by a global financial collapse, followed by a 3-day global blackout, with the armed forces restoring order in the next 10 days of darkness, at which time 24/7 information dissemination would be transmitted by activating the emergency broadcast system. But no one knows when this will happen, even though it sounds like heavenly music to our ears. Odin Project. Project Odin would offer a new affordable and uncensored internet network would be put online worldwide throughout the use of the new Starlink satellite system. Information would be free of blockades, censorship and corruption. The truth would be revealed and awakening could begin. Project Odin would be used to detect foreign objects floating in space. As Ron Code Monkey mentions, the Odin project would be a powerful tool that would be part of the Starlink quantum system. As new system must be protected by secret space programs that are beyond the reach of the dark side. This would shut down the media worldwide as we switch to quantum systems. Operation Mockingbird would wipe out the satellites of the major propaganda media with no text messages, phone calls, or working internet worldwide. Communication would go out throughout a highly encrypted military application. Disclosure. Tesla's free energy emergency broadcast system would disseminate world events throughout 3 8-hour documentaries that would be placed in multiple languages on television 24 hours a day, every day for 10 days, but all this remains to be seen because it sounds too fantastic. Since Wednesday, June 2nd, the QFS quantum financial system has been operating the entire world economic procedure, including all previous computerized banking methods, although it is known that the QFS has been running in the background for 2 years, monitoring all operations to hunt down cheaters. All that remains is for all this to be made public and official. Russia and Cuba has just reported that they no longer accept the US paper dollar. There is no need to panic. We are simply switching to a new system. The famous military lawyer Lin Wood has said to prepare for massive zero-day cyber attacks, but it doesn't take a crystal ball to be aware that cyber attacks are the order of the day, and they are affecting more and more vital structures, although fortunately they are catching more and more hackers every day, as happened with the pipeline attack. Cyber attacks. Recent cyber attacks reveal the extreme vulnerability of utilities. Highly inadequate digital security poses a threat as hackers shift their focus to utility networks. Hackers stole nearly 26 million user login credentials for sites like Amazon, Google, and Facebook. Hackers using custom Trojan-like malware stole nearly 26 million login credentials, emails or usernames and associated passwords for nearly 1 million websites over a 2-year period, including for namesakes like Amazon, Facebook, and Twitter, according to cybersecurity vendor NotLogger. When Los Angeles Department of Water and Power was hacked in 2018, it took just 6 hours. Earlier this year, an intruder lurked in hundreds of computers related to water systems in Portland, Oregon, and thieves installed malicious computers on a network that provides power to a portion of the Northwest. The cases drive home a point long known but until recently largely unappreciated. Digital security of computer networks, which control the machines that produce and distribute water and power, is woefully inadequate and low priority for operators and regulators, which would pose a threat. Financial panic. Large financial institutions are preparing for the collapse of the fiat system, and are buying up as many hard assets as possible. A federal judge has struck down the debt relief program for white farmers. Macron told Biden he would need the US to send money to Europe, and the president agrees. An alternative currency is coming. The dark side would be panicking. There have been investigations since 2017, and there have been no leaks. There is only one chance to get it done, and it has to be done right. The dark side would be preparing to counter the election audit, and they will do everything they can to prevent information from getting to the people. As the geniuses running the Western financial bubble, sometimes called economics, continue to redouble their obsession with pumping up a dead financial system with ever more trillions in stimulus spending, arguments rage among economists living in denial of the coming systemic collapse. This is akin to engineers on the Titanic arguing passionately about whether they should speed up or slow down the ship whose hull had been shattered by an iceberg, according to Matthew Eret. The world's permanent military, intelligence and diplomatic bureaucracies, along with their perception managers in the media and educational system, are hiding from everyone a reality that is far more nefarious than what the Wizard of Oz hid from Dorothy, according to Andrew Korybko. Economy. Central banks plan to launch digital currencies. The dilemma facing central banks over how to deal with the fast-growing global cryptocurrency market has been highlighted in recent days. Regulators and central banks are battling for control of the monetary system as cryptocurrencies become a growing challenge to fiat currencies, threatening to cap the levers lawmakers depend on the control the workings of their economy. What's at stake for markets as debt ceiling looms? The US debt ceiling goes into effect at the end of July, putting pressure on the Treasury to reduce its cash balance ahead of the deadline. That means more cash injections into a financial system that is already awash in liquidity, a scenario that could further depress short-term rates and cause undue distortion in the overnight repurchase market. Inflation is starting to go crazy. Inflation is making headlines around the world, but the mainstream media is not being honest about the true severity of the crisis. We are told that the official inflation rate is still in the single digits, but what we are not being told is that the way inflation is calculated has changed dramatically over the years. In fact, according to Forbes, The government has changed the way it calculates inflation more than 20 times over the past 30 years. The inflation rate directly affects many other things in our system, and the government would like to keep that number as low as possible. So they modified the formula until they got it just where they wanted it, according to Michael Snyder. The global economy is drying up all over. A year ago, as the health crisis devastated one country after another, and economies shuddered, consumers were the ones panic buying. Today, on the rebound, companies are furiously trying to stock up, according to Brendan Murray, Enda Karam, and Kim Chipman. Mattress makers, automakers, and aluminium foil manufacturers are buying more material than they needed to survive the breakneck speed at which demand for products is recovering and mitigate that overriding fear of running out of stock. The frenzy is pushing supply chains to the brink of stasis. Shortages, transportation bottlenecks, and price spikes are approaching the highest level in living memory, raising concerns about stoking inflation in an oversupplied global economy. Copper, iron ore and steel, corn, coffee, wheat and soybeans, lumber, semiconductor, plastics and packaging board. The world seems to be low of all of those. You name it, and we have a shortage, said Tom Linebarger, President and Chief Executive Officer of engine and generator maker Cummins Inc. Customers are trying to get as much as they can because they see a big demand, said Jennifer Ramsey, President of the Columbus, Indiana-based company. They think it will extend into next year. The difference between the big 2021 crisis and past supply disruptions is the sheer magnitude of it, and the fact that there is no clear end in sight. Big or small, few companies are spared. Europe's largest trucking fleet, called Girteca Logistics, says there has been a struggle to find enough capacity. Monster Beverage Corp of Corona, California, is dealing with a shortage of aluminum cans. Momax Technology Limited of Hong Kong is delaying production of a new product because of a shortage of semiconductors. Real estate bubble. Fictitious financial wealth in real estate is disappearing, according to Atlantis report. Housing is not going up, the dollar is going down, and it's not going back down because the dollar isn't. In the 1970s, you could buy a new oceanfront beach house in Florida for $40,000 back then, and in 1978 it was $100,000 and nobody could believe it. Now it's $2 million and nobody can believe it. And in 5 years it will be $3 million, and in 10 years it will be $5 million. But the price increase in housing has not benefited the homeowner at all. Those who buy today are slaves to the banks for life, which is exactly what the banks want. County assessors are earning record income. Realtors enjoy nice commissions, but the homeowner doesn't benefit. There are more realtors that there are homes for sale. Let that sink in for a moment. All the workers in the area have now become realtors because it is big business. Everyone is thinking they can get their commission done quickly and be rich. The money is coming from Asians, Indians, Chinese and other migrants. People migrating from California and New York to suburban metro areas in Virginia, Atlanta, North Carolina, Massachusetts, Washington, and anywhere else where houses used to be affordable. Builders are going crazy and not even able to build houses as fast as these crazy rich people are putting their money down. What used to be an amazing house for $600,000, is now selling for $1 million within 3 years. These people have made millions in the stock market. They have saved millions over the past few years, and they are diversifying by investing in real estate, and this has just begun. They are not fools, and they are investing in financial assets instead of stock derivatives. They will cause prices to skyrocket with stimulus checks, high construction cost, and Biden's proposed $15,000 for new home buyers. Eventually, the housing bubble will burst. Excuse me. End times. Puff said that the ends do not justify the means at this time. Many top executives are being brought down, and many more are being brought together to face their consequences of actions and omission of actions. But there are others who are being released from prison. Many of you had simply hoped that the end times were possible, but felt that there was no one strong enough to call into action the efforts and strength needed to make a dent in the powers that have ruled for too long. They have a counterproductive effort to yours that is making a small dent, and yet the overall effort is to make the overthrow as effective as possible. The end times are in sight, but the funds will remain immobilized until the safety nets are in place and checks and balances have been secured. At this time, not only are the bankers in the driver's seat, but so are the politicians. Do the work of prayer and the work of raising consciousness. China. General Milley wants that China will beat up its military. The top US general wants Thursday that the Chinese regime is building up its military capability at a very serious and sustained pace, and said it could pose a threat to global stability and peace. Army General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said it is necessary for the US to retain a competitive and technological edge over the CCP, as the US and China have remained intransigent over Taiwan, human rights violations, and territorial disputes. NATO chief calls for tough stance on China. As NATO leaders gather for a critical summit, Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has called for the transatlantic security alliance to confront challenges posed by China and respond to Beijing's growing economic, political, and military power. Stoltenberg denied Monday that Western powers and China are entering a new Cold War, but said Beijing doesn't share the values of the 30-member group. NATO to toughen G7 message on China. NATO leaders are expected to brand China a security risk to the Western alliance, a day after the group of 7 rich nations issued a statement on human rights in China and Taiwan that Beijing said slandered its reputation. Afghan interpreters feel abandoned. Hundreds of Afghans who risked their lives to help the army with interpretation and other services have been abandoned as the US withdraws from Afghanistan. Europe. Eurozone at a turning point, but too soon to discuss ending ECB support. The Eurozone economy is at a turning point, but its recovery must be steady and sustainable before the European Central Bank can discuss bringing back emergency support, ECB President Christine Lagarde told Politico in an interview. Switzerland rejects law to help country meet Paris carbon emissions target. Through its borders on Sunday, rejected a trio of environmental proposals, including a new law aimed at helping the country meet its target to cut carbon emissions under the Paris Agreement on the so-called climate change. Mark Carney presents a new dystopian world. What Carney ultimately wants is a technocratic dictatorship, and he doesn't disguise it. In his book Values: Building a Better World for All, Mark Carney, former governor of both the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, claims that Western society is morally rotten, as has been corrupted by capitalism. This, he says, requires rigid controls on personal freedom, industry, and corporate finance. But personal freedom is not touched because it is a birthright. It must not be touched. Business. Toshiba chairman blames former CEO for company's problems. Toshiba chairman Osamu Nagayama is resisting pressure to resign and says the company's problems with shareholders are allegedly due to the confrontational attitude of former CEO Nobuaki Kurumatani. Bitcoin jumps after Musk says he may use it again. Bitcoin hit a 2-week high below $40,000 on Monday, after another weekend reacting to tweets from Tesla chief Elon Musk, who dismissed criticism of his influence on the market and said Tesla sold bitcoins but may resume trading if he uses it again. India, believed to have hit its world's largest family, dies. Ziona Chana, 76 years old, headed a Christian sect that allowed polygamy for men in the northeastern state of Mizoram, India. An Indian man believed to have headed the world's largest family has died. Ziona Chana has left behind 38 wives and 89 children. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, very dear friends.